Okay, hey y'all, I had to kind of start this over. I didn't have a good connection. I'm gonna try to go through everything again for those of you who were watching. And yeah, so in any case, I recently was having a conversation with my husband about some childhood experiences. If you don't know, I did write 2 books. The first one is called The Power of the Panties: Overcoming Sexual Bondage, and the second one is called I'm So Over It. So in my first book, I detail a lot of different sexual trauma that I experienced as a child, as a young adult, as a teenager, all of those things. And I don't know if anybody else knows, but once you start to unpack trauma, sometimes it takes years to unpack. So while I wrote my first book, I was unpacking a lot of trauma, and I was unpacking a lot of experiences, some that I remembered, some that were suppressed. It's just it's a journey. It really is a lifelong commitment to wholeness and to deliverance. So I was talking to my husband, and I remembered an experience in my adolescence where I was exposed. I had a very inappropriate experience with a basketball coach. Actually, I had 2 inappropriate experiences with a basketball coach. One of them was very known. People got involved, and I'm not going to talk about that experience itself, but I do want to talk about one that I think is really important because it can be subtle. And to somebody's child who may have been in this type of situation, they might not be, they might not tell, or they might not be prone to even mention it because they feel like it's not the traditional molestation or rape or sexual assault, but it is something very inappropriate, and it's something that I remembered. So in a nutshell, I was in the 8th grade. I was about 14 years old. I was a cheerleader, so I was really tight with the people who played sports, basketball players. What else did we have? I don't think we had a football team, but anyway, the point is that I was also very close with the coaches. My coaches were women. They were grown, adult women, and the basketball coach were young men. And when I say young men, I mean like maybe 22, 23 years old. I probably would say 24 max. But they were the ones who were hired, the coach and the assistant coach. They were hired to coach the basketball team, and naturally we would be going to games together, having sports banquets, doing pep rallies. So there was a lot of time spent with these men in those type of settings, which, there's nothing wrong with that. However, I noticed that the men were a little too, how should I put it? They were too familiar with the girls, the cheer team, and they didn't accept the responsibility of role model. They were kind of like peers. So we were cool, they would, say inappropriate things to us, and we would laugh it off. Ha 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 ha, you so stupid. All of that. We got little crushes on them and stuff like that. It was starting to be a very inappropriate relationship between those guys. So fast forward, one of the coaches lived in the neighborhood. Like, he probably lived a few blocks from our school. So, after school, sometimes me and some of my friends will ride our bikes to his house. And, which he was, there was nothing funny going on then. It was a lot of us there. It was a group of us. We didn't come inside. We didn't, nothing like that was going on. But there was one day that I was riding my bike, and that just shows you a different time in history, because I was able to ride my bike without any type of nothing. I was able to ride my bike without thinking about getting snatched, or maybe the hand of God was just on me. But anyway, I was riding my bike to this coach's house, and nobody else was there, just me. I saw his car was in the driveway, so I knocked on the door, and he came to the door, and this was the first time that he invited me in. Like, no, I had never been inside his house prior to this day, and hadn't been since. Hi, Dave in the Army. So when I got inside of his house, I noticed that he was watching porn. Specifically the alleged R. Kelly sex tape. And so as a middle school girl, first of all, I'm very confused. I'm instantly uncomfortable because you're watching porn. Not just that you're watching porn, but you invited me in as you were watching porn. Dave, I'm talking about an experience that I had as a young girl with a coach at my school. You might have to watch the replay because I kind of gave a lot of pre-information. But anyway, so yeah, I'm basically telling the story so that if people want to go back and watch it, I'm going to post it later on my page so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But anyway, so I'm at this coach's house and he is watching the R. Kelly sex tape. And I'm confused. I'm uncomfortable. I'm very tense. And I'm wondering why he even invited me in if this is what he's watching. And so I'm like kind of there. I'm trying to play it cool. I don't want to alert him that I'm uncomfortable, even though I had every reason to be uncomfortable. And so he just has this tape on, casually watching it, you know, kind of looking back at me a couple times. And so then he finally asked me, he's like, do you think that's him? And you know, that was the big thing back then. This is R. Kelly in this sex tape with this young girl. Do you think it's him or do you not think it's him? And I just feel like that wasn't a relevant question for me. For one, I'm 14. For two, this is child pornography. For three, I'm at your house while you're watching child pornography. So it's just a whole, like, just an ordeal. It's just a whole, just, you know, bells and warning signs just ringing. And I'm just so uncomfortable. And he is so comfortable that I'm even more comfortable. And so me, I'm like, I don't know if it's her, you know, I don't know if it's him. I don't know anything. Like, I'm just really confused as to why you have this on and why am I here? So after I'm like, you know, get over my frozen with fear type of thing, I'm thinking, is he going to, like, you know, is he going to try this with me? Is he, you know, does he like this? Like, this is him with a young girl who probably was my age. You know, he's watching a grown man, you know, sexually assault a young girl on camera, and this is something that he has playing with a young girl in this house. And so I'm just like, is he going to try this with me? And if he is, I need to hurry and leave before he gets any ideas or before I can't leave. Like, that's really where my mind was. And so eventually I leave and hop back on my bike. That just goes to show you I was on a bike, y'all. I didn't pull up to this man's house in a car. I was on a bike because I was only 14 years old. I was a child. And so I kind of just left without, you know, I didn't speak on it again. I didn't tell anybody that happened. And it was just so, like, it shook me. I could not even look at him the same. Like I said, I was a young girl, had a little schoolgirl crush on him. But I immediately understood the danger. You know, it wasn't an innocent crush anymore. I'm like, he invited me into his house while he was watching porn. And I knew what porn was because I was, you know, hey, I've been exposed to sex at a very young age in ways, you know, unimaginable, in ways that I shouldn't have been exposed to it. And so I'm like, you know, wow. So in a nutshell, and I'll probably talk about the experience with the other coach later because this is exhausting to even talk about right now. But in a nutshell, it brings me back to how much we have to shepherd and lead and protect our kids, because this was somebody at my school who I trusted, who the other people who hired him trusted. Nobody would have ever guessed that a little girl would have been in his house while he's watching porn. And it's so, like, I just don't put a lot of things past people for that reason. Like, I have my own daughter. I have a stepson who's 12. My daughter is 7. I do not trust people. I'm always asking them questions about what happened to them and who said things to them and who's at whatever house they're trying to go to and telling them not to go in. Like, it's just something that's ingrained in me because this experience happened. Anything could have happened to me while I was in that man's house. Like I said, the hand of God was on me that day because I was not sexually assaulted. but I was mentally disturbed, and that carried on in my life for longer than it needed to. Like, here I am, 33 years old, just remembering that it even happened. The shame associated with that, it should not have been my shame, it should have been his shame. He should have been ashamed of himself for putting me in that position. And if you watch porn, that's a whole different situation. If that's his business, he should have said, hey, Kiera, this is not a good time. Why don't you come back a little later? Or why don't you come back with some friends? Or I don't know what he should have said at that moment, but he definitely should not have let me in and experience him having that moment. So yeah, that's just my story. And the conclusion: watch your children, pray over them, pray over their minds, pray over their bodies, pray over their, just protect them, because the enemy is seeking whom he may devour. And that's it. That's my story. And I'm just so grateful that I've been able to overcome and be better and be delivered and be healed and be able to be set on a path where I can talk about this freely to other women who may be struggling in their own sexual integrity. So my book, The Power of the Panties, Overcoming Sexual Bondage, you can hit the link in my bio. There's an audio version that you can listen to. There's a couple little snippets that you can listen to. The print version is available for sale, but the audiobook version is coming out before Christmas. So I urge you to check that out. If you want to, follow the lessons that I learned in regaining my sexual integrity and conquering all of those things that tried to come against me and try to frame me to be somebody I'm not. So hopefully y'all enjoy y'all day. Love y'all. Goodbye.